Hello, everyone. Welcome, life coaches and anyone else that's on the call. I'm Seal Stanford, and this is my colleague, Raul. Raul, you want to say hello?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Hello, Seal. And just really happy to be here today and just really happy with the topic that you're going to be sharing this morning. Really, really happy.
Yeah, thank you. I love this topic. It's all around coaching, and it's not just for life coaches because we all use these techniques. Hopefully, we're using positive techniques as we live life so that we can create a lot of happiness for ourselves, for our families, for our clients, and everybody we come in contact with. So today's topic is basically on two fundamentals that all life coaches should know and should have. And for anybody else that's listening, you should have these too. So if you want the handout that we're going to be giving you in the PDF format, just type the word two, TWO, in the comment section. And if you would be so kind as to also let us know if you're watching this live, type live, or if you're watching as a replay, type replay. We would greatly appreciate it. So, as I said, there's a couple of vital fundamentals of coaching that every life coach needs to know. And if you don't know these couple of vital fundamentals, what ends up happening is you'll end up wasting your time. You'll end up wasting the client's time. You won't be as effective as you want to be. And so we're going to give you those today so that you can be more effective and not waste any more time. So Raul, talk to us about this.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much again, Seal. And something that I really like, and it's connected to the other video, the first one in this series, is about having a coach, right? It's about getting better. It's really about betterment, but there's a challenge with that, especially if you're a coach. And it's really like just choosing the right pace to help the other person to grow. So let me just share a little bit of what I've seen. And I'm really grateful for having to meet just great coaches in my life, because that really makes a difference. So for example, if you're helping someone, right, at whatever exercise, whatever drill or practice you're coaching them on, the challenge for you as a coach, let's say if you go too easy or too slow, then the client or the student might get bored. You might trigger boredom if it's just too easy or too slow. But then the other side of that is like, okay, but also if you go too difficult or too fast, now you have your client or your student that would be overwhelmed, right? So basically, if you don't have like that sensitivity as a coach, and if you choose the wrong pace, you'll cause frustration. Meaning betterment or getting better would be painful for the student or the client. So you don't want that. So that's one of the reasons why just working with a great coach in whatever area, it makes the whole difference, because at the end you enjoy the process, right? So really what you want is you want your client, you want the student like fully engaged, right, in the process of getting better. You want to see their willingness to apply in life what they're learning. And then the other thing that you really want as a coach is you want to see them winning consistently. So yeah, that's what comes to be with this.
Thank you so much. And so to add to what you said, now let's give them the two abilities that every coach and every person that's trying to get better should know, in my opinion. So the first ability that a life coach needs to have, or anybody that's wanting to do their best in helping others, would be you need to be able to perceive what that person can do, what the client can do, what the student can do. Because as Raul mentioned, if you go too slow, you're going to create a lot of frustration. They're going to get bored. If you go too fast, then you're going to get the other end of the seesaw. They're going to be totally overwhelmed. So your perception needs to be very correct. and seeing where that person's at and what they can do. The second thing is, which kind of goes along with disability, but you need to be able to help them do it better, whatever they're trying to do, on the proper gradient. You know, I always say Rome wasn't built in a day, although I wish it were.
Me too.
You know, and so just like the Olympian that wins the gold or the silver, they didn't do that just in one day. There was a lot of practice, and it took a lot of practicing and doing on the right gradient and make it better and better and better. So 2 abilities: see what the student can do and be accurate on your perception, and then help them do it better at the right gradient for them so they can win. And wins beget wins. It's like building blocks. So an example of this would be somebody that wants to be able to do public speaking. And let's say they really are not good at it, okay? They're terrified of it. So you would not start that person out on the stage talking to 100 people. Can you imagine? They probably would go away and forget about their want and never want to go back into the area. But you would suggest that they stand up in front of 1 person or 2 people and practice that, and then increase it gradiently until they're comfortable talking to different size groups. I mean, that's really the winning formula. And I've seen that done, and it works. And so there's one more point here that is key, because if you want to be able to perceive what that person can do and use the right gradient, it starts with you, the number 1 step, and that is your ability to be here, your ability to focus, your ability to concentrate. And also another word is being present. Concentrating and focus is all part of being present in the moment, because if you're not present, your perception's not going to be 100% correct. So that sets up everything you do. That is the number 1 step, whether you're investing money, whether or not you're trying to get to the shop on time, or whether or not you're, you know, making an appointment to be with the client. You got to be present first. So Raul, is there anything else you want to add to that before I go to the next piece?
Yeah, I mean, just that is such a basic fundamental in coaching and really in life. Because if we talked about coaching right now, as you're describing the 2 abilities, perceive, right, what the student can do, and then just help them do that better, but in the right gradient. So both of those depend on that presence. I mean, how good your perception is going to be, or how accurate that is going to be, it depends on how present you are. But then also helping the other person do the right thing at the right gradient. It's, again, it depends on how present you are. So such an important ability and skill.
Yeah. And so with that, before we leave you, we have a great story that we're going to publish, you know, inside the group, on the Facebook Live group, but I'm going to tell you just a tiny bit about it. It's because it has to do with actually coaching and seeing what the student can do and not overwhelming the student, and just kind of asking the right questions. So this is a real life story that happened in 2010. And it was actually the first time I ever went to Mexico and the first time I ever taught. Do you remember this, Raul?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And there was a guy on the course called named Artemio, and he had his wife with him as well. Her name was Damaris. And he took the course, and in the midst of all that, he told me, at some point that year, he told me that he'd really like to be closer to the ranch, and he'd really like to learn what we're teaching. And they were leaving in Guadalajara, I believe, at the time. And I asked him, but he was working for an American company, and I found out that the company he worked for was in Texas. It's actually in Plano, Texas, and that's where I lived for 15 years. And I'm like, wow, you work for this company? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, what's your position there? And he was an engineer, and he told me what his position is. I said, are you real good? Did they respect you? Do you have a good, what I wanted to know, what was the relationship with him? How needed was he? Was he doing just a common job that anybody can do? Or was he pretty high up in rank in his field? And he said, oh no, he was very needed at his company, very good at what he does. And I'm like, wow, have you ever thought about transferring to the United States? You could be close to the ranch. My God, you'd be 85 miles away. And I didn't know this at the time, but that did give him some charge, if you will. But he started the process of investigating. And, because I saw his dream, I saw his want. It seemed like a no-brainer to me. So I basically, would follow up with him, say, did you investigate it? Yeah, I did. And he says, I think I'm going to be able to transfer to that. That meant up and moving his family. Because I don't know if he'd ever lived in the States. Do you? Had he ever lived in the States before?
No, not at that point. No.
Yeah. So he'd never lived in the States before. So you know what's all involved in that. He's not a citizen, visas and all of that stuff. And this was in 2010. So he did the investigation, and that company located in Plano, Texas, helped him move over here. And you'll see in his story, he went from making around, and don't quote me because I didn't memorize the story, he went from making around $35,000 a year when he was living in Guadalajara working for this company, now making $185,000. And but he outlines the steps. And the reason why I share this story with you is because it was gradient steps on what he could do, a lot of things to confront and handle, and he did it. And oh my God, it's phenomenal. Now he lives about 85 miles from us, and now he's actually, by the end of the year, will be actually living in the same town with us. So his dream has now come true, but it's been several steps of the right process. So gradient, and your client will win. The person will win. Your best friend will win. Everybody you're connected to will win. So see what the client can do, the student can do, and gradiently coach them in helping them do it better. So with that, any other thing you want to say, Raul, as a final last word?
Yeah, I just love it. Gradient. Love it.
Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Have a great week. Life coaches, please start using these techniques and check in with us. Post it on the Facebook page and let us know what you find out, what you notice, and what happens.